this episode, we are hitting up my local recycling centre, then hunting for amazing retro clothing in my local charity shop, picking up something to trade into CX which I have never traded in before, going to a charity shop I have not been to for over a year, and finishing off finding some absolute bargains in the last place I would have expected. And it just goes to show, the deals are out there, you just need to know where to find them.
Get pickups! Building a gangster! Road trips! Live game hunting!
Hello again folks, welcome back to another live game hunting video. And at the moment, in the height of British summertime, you would think I'd be hitting up more car boots. But alas, the weather this summer so far has been less than spectacular. Nearly every weekend, the car boots in my area have been rained off. Which of course means I've been hitting up a lot more charity shops, including some charity shops I haven't been to in absolutely ages, and trying some new spots for hunting such as cash converters. And recently my local cash converters had a real change to the way they sell games, and trust me, it is a change for the better. Just before we get into this week's episode, I want to remind you folks, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe, as I put new videos out every Saturday night at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. Now, let's get hunting. We are starting off this time at my local recycling centre, and here you can see not one but two OG Xboxes. Now, the only thing is these are labelled as parts only, as they have not been tested. But let me know in the comments down below, would you run the risk of buying an original Xbox without leads untested for £10? Comment below. Here we have two more bundles, and the question remains, would you pick these up? So first off, we have this PlayStation 3 bundle for £55. Comes with a console, all the leads, controller, and a little bundle of games. Even though one of them is FIFA, you do have 3 Call of Duties. So would you pick up this PlayStation 3 for £55? Next we have this original Xbox 360 for £45. One of the games with it is Connect though, but it does seem to be complete, and these are all tested. Here we have something which I have never picked up before from a recycling centre to trade into CEX. It is this calculator, and at just 50p, if you know the exact make and model of these calculators, you can check them on the CEX app and work out if they're worth taking into the store. And it can be surprising, you can get a decent amount of trade-in for some of these calculators. I think this one was £3 or £4. I'll show you in the pickups at the end of the video, so don't sleep on calculators. But of course, the main thing I'm looking for at the recycling centre is video games. But that doesn't mean I won't pick up DVDs and Blu-rays from here, because all DVDs and Blu-rays at a recycling centre are just 10p. And at the end of the day, when you can pick up some quality titles like this for just 10p each, if these aren't available on the streaming service you use, it's definitely cheaper than renting them digitally. 10p is a bargain. Now, full disclosure, I go to my local recycling centre about 2 to 3 times a week, and this is over the course of about a month, 6 weeks. And every time I go in, they always seem to have fresh games. Of course, sometimes I go in and there's absolutely nothing, but this is the advantage of the recycling centre. All games are £1 regardless. Any console, any genre, they're always £1. And this is an absolutely fantastic way to either build a game collection or to find games to flip into CX for in-store credit. Like that Family Guy, that game there, for £1, is an absolute bargain. Sadly, sometimes the games aren't in there, which we all know the golden rule, always check the disc, because obviously if a disc is too scratched or not even in there, you can't take it into CX. Now, this was when the Call of Duty games had hit the absolute rock bottom, and this Family Guy game was a little bit scratched, but for the price, for £1, I'll risk it. A trip here, and as I said, if a game is lightly scratched, I will risk it. But when it comes to some of these games look like they've been kicked down a pavement. Some of these games are absolutely wrecked, and at the end of the day, if I'm paying £1 for a game that might trade for £1.50 and it's scratched, I'm going to leave it behind. Sometimes this is unfortunate. I really would have picked up Halo Anniversary here for £1, but this thing was absolutely wrecked. Sometimes it really doesn't do it justice in these videos how bad these discs are, and this one was awful. Here is the thing with the recycling centres, charity shops and car boots in general. Consistency is key. A lot of the times you will go into these places and find absolutely nothing. But this is the thing, you have to keep hunting, as you never know what's round the corner. It's kind of walking that fine line through addiction and just consistency. I just nip in on the way home from work. It takes me about 5 minutes, and I'd say I find games about 50% of the time. But for this month, this is without a doubt the best thing I've found. These Blu-rays were 10p each, and do not sleep on these Steelbooks. Some of these Blu-ray Steelbooks trade in for an absolutely amazing amount, like 10p for that Batman Blu-ray Steelbook, £2 trade-in. 10p for Batman Returns, £8 trade-in. Absolutely incredible. I'm lucky enough that Norwich has not one but 2 recycling shops. The only problem is the other one is a little bit further away from me and not on the way back from work, so I don't visit it all that often. But they also have some really good bundles on consoles, and here we have a PlayStation 2 for £40 and underneath an Xbox 360 also for £40. So again, let me know in the comments down below. The advantage of buying these from the recycling centre is they are all tested. So you know these consoles are working, and it can be tempting to pick these up to trade into CEX, but of course it has to be at the right price, and it does all depend on condition. Like if it doesn't have an official controller, I'm definitely leaving it behind, but it's always worth checking for these boxes as you never know what you're going to find. Like this, just sitting on the corner of a shelf, Guitar Hero Warriors of Rock for the PlayStation 3. Now, these Guitar Hero games are trading in for some decent money at CEX, but the thing is, if it's for the PlayStation 3, you need to make sure it has the wireless dongle. If not, it costs about the same for the dongle as it does a guitar, so make sure it's there. Sticking with obscure plastic paraphernalia, check out this PlayStation 2 snowboard. Now, if you can also use this with Tony Hawk's, I have never tried one of these before. If it's been a little bit cheaper, I would have picked it up just out of morbid curiosity. At £15, I did pass, but let me know in the comments down below if you've ever tried this. But of course, like the other recycling centre, the main thing I'm looking for in here is video games, because they have that blanket price of just £1 regardless. You can see here we have PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, Wii, PlayStation 2, even PC games. These are all just £1, but it just changes all the time what's in here. Like I went back another week later and they had Call of Duty 3 for the Wii, which is actually a really interesting port of this game, and for £1 it's worth picking up. Like one of the weirder ways to play one of like the most iconic first person shooters of all time. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't say it plays well on the Nintendo Wii, but it's an experience, and for £1 that's a good experience. Now here's a bit of an oddity at the recycling centre. All of these Pokemon card tins. Now these were all empty, but they were between like £2 to £4 each. Now I have a rough idea on Pokemon cards, but when it comes to these tins, I didn't pick any of these up. But let me know in the comments down below if I'd made a mistake and if you would have picked these up. But I think without the cards, these are essentially valueless. Now, thankfully, the next time I visited, the game section had been replenished, and there was a couple of bits in here I wanted to pick up. I always pick up these Viva Pinata games because, do you know what? They're kind of mindless, simple fun. I know they're probably mainly aimed at kids, but they're kind of one of the hidden gems, I would say, on the Xbox 360. Don't know why there was a Wii Play booklet here. Kind of annoying. If the game had been here, I'd have probably picked up Wii Play. But going back in, there's some DVDs here, such as this Pokemon DVD. And like I said earlier in the video, all DVDs here are 10p, so this one's a really obvious grab. And it seems this time we're building ourselves a nice little pile with this Rockstar, yes, that Rockstar table tennis for the Wii. And without a doubt, I think this is the best table tennis game of all time, and it's made even sweeter with the motion controls on the Wii. As you can see, a nice little bundle of games here. Also, £1 for the games, 10p for the DVDs. I did leave this Wii shovelware behind, but hiding on the shelf down below was something I don't see very often anywhere anymore. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a big box PC game, but these big box PC games, like in these kind of big cardboard boxes, anything Dungeons and Dragons like this, I love the artwork, I love the game, and for £1, I think this is a really good pickup, so definitely grabbing this one. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you may recognise this rainy charity shop. It is one of the areas I used to charity shop all the time, as I used to work in Long Stratton, and this is one of 2 charity shops in that small town. And this charity shop always used to be really good for video games, and it seems like today is no different. We have some Xbox 360, some PlayStation 2, even some PlayStation 4, but it is actually the PlayStation 2 that's jumping out at me, as I don't own this Medal of Honor game, and I really enjoy the Medal of Honor franchise. It is kind of a shame that it went modern day and essentially ended its own series, but there were some really solid games. They were absolutely brilliant titles on the PlayStation 2, and games that I'm genuinely surprised were missing from my collection. And for £2 each, I'm definitely going to pick these up. These PlayStation 4 games were all about £5, and unfortunately a little bit overpriced, which is a shame, but some charity shops know how to price their games, and unfortunately some don't. But this is why I normally prefer when charity shops go down the road of £1 or £2 for every single game. And here we have the other charity shop in Long Stratton, a charity shop that has survived not just the test of time, but a fire in a nearby flat. Like, literally the entire building, as you can see, burnt down here up until the charity shop. Thankfully, no one was injured, and thankfully the charity shop is still there, because I have found so many good things here over the years, probably just because I used to visit this charity shop literally 4 to 5 times a week. It was literally on my walk home from work. I would just stop in here and see what games they had. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything really to write home about this time. There was some Call of Duty games on the Xbox 360, but they're not the ones that trade in well for CEX. I did check this PES game because I know two of these do trade in well. Unfortunately, it wasn't that one. And other than that, there was nothing really too much to write home about. But this is a thing with charity shops. Sometimes you can overdo it. Yes, probably going 4 to 5 times a week is a little bit intense. I have got better at that recently, but it's that fine line. But again, like I said earlier in the video, visiting a charity shop enough, but also not overkilling it. If you go in like twice a day, yes, that's probably overkilling it. I think once or twice a week is good, because at the end of the day, you do never know what's going to come up, and you will see that in this charity shop in around a minute's time. Sometimes you miss a deal by a few moments, and unfortunately that is what happened this time. By this point, I had actually missed the best deal in the store, and I will tell you about that just in a moment, but I did manage to pick this up, this SummerSlam Blu-ray in a Steelbook. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, especially recently, you will know I'm a massive wrestling fan for one, and secondly, I'm a massive Steelbook fan, so to be able to pick this up for £1 or £2 is an absolute no-brainer. I was surprised these Fresh Prince of Bel-Air DVD box sets did not trade in for more. I would expect these would trade in for a decent amount into CX, but unfortunately not. But this is a thing with a lot of DVD box sets, they don't trade in for a lot, but it is knowing which ones do trade in, because they are the ones you want to be picking up. And another thing, if I go into a charity shop and see something I've never seen before, chances are I'm going to pick it up. I have never seen this Final Fantasy trading card game. It's £5. I don't know if that's a good offer or a bad offer. I don't know if it's good. I don't know anything about these. But for £5, I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to pick these up because I just love these kind of weird game tie-ins as well as board games. I did pick up this copy of Obama Llama because it was much cheaper than picking it up off Amazon. If you only take one thing away from this video, take away this tip. Always ask if they have more games. You can see here all of the games that were in the back of the charity shop, but unfortunately, it was somebody in front of me who had picked all of the best titles out here. Nothing too major, but it just goes to show, if you don't ask, you don't get. A short drive from Long Stratton is Wyndham, and outside this charity shop here we have a box of Blu-rays and DVDs, and something I'm always looking for is video game based movies. I'm building quite a large selection of these. One film I haven't got my hands on yet is Need for Speed. Now, I've never seen this one, so let me know in the comments down below what you think of this video game tie-in movie. One thing I also keep an eye out for in every charity shop is not just shirts for my work, such as this lovely white and blue floral number here, but also kind of retro or video game based t-shirts. And I'm a massive Star Wars fan, and check out this all over print Rogue One t-shirt for £3.50. That's coming home with me, but oh my, this X-Wing all over print t-shirt is a thing of beauty. The final charity shops this time are in and around Thetford, and this one's just in the outskirts of Thetford, and it always seems to have a really good selection of games, but the problem is the prices aren't very good. These are normally on the definitely higher end, like you can see here, Fallout 76, pretty overpriced. Unfortunately, a lot of charity shops don't understand that some of these games get very cheap. Obviously, this is normally where you're trying to find charity shops pricing games low, so you can pick them up cheap, so no luck here. But going for the t-shirts here, we have another video game inspired t-shirt, this amazing Atari t-shirt. This next charity shop had a very good, albeit very weird selection. You can see here there's some pretty interesting manga DVDs. Now, I have no idea about this one, so I did leave it behind, but let me know in the comments down below if I slept on this one. And this is not at first what meets the eye. Yes, it's Dead or Alive Volleyball, and the less said about that, the better. But this is in fact an NTSC OG Xbox game. I was kind of tempted to pick it up, not because it's Dead or Alive Volleyball, but because it was NTSC. But here is a game I'm definitely picking up, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the Xbox 360. At first, I didn't realise, but that is the only Turtles game I still needed on the Xbox 360. It was slightly more expensive than it would have been in CEX, but I would happily pick it up. This was cool as well, another NTSC game. But of all the things we found today, this was the last thing I expected to find. A brand new and boxed AEW CM Punk figure. If you didn't know, I love AEW. I've watched it from day one. I'm going to All In at the end of this month, and I collect these AEW figures, but only complete in the box. And for £5, this is a steal. Finally, this time we are going to my local cash converters. I know what you're thinking. You can't normally get a very good deal in cash converters, but my local store has changed the way they do things. If a game or any item has been on the shelf for longer than a month, they reduce the price. And some of these games are down to 50 pence. That's right, you can get video games in cash converters. I don't know if it's nationwide or just in my local store here in Norwich for as little as 50p. But it is some of these bigger games that are getting reduced. Like this here, Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition was $16.99, now 50p. This trades in for a fantastic CEX credit, but it's some of the higher value games here. The games that have sat there for over a month that normally command a much higher price tag, they are doing some amazing pricing on. Now, some of these I did have to ask about because it wasn't very clear what the pricing was, but I managed to come away with some absolutely amazing games for the collection. We're talking N64, Wii U, even PlayStation 1. Some absolute bargains, and a game that for the N64 I have been looking for at the right price for a long while. And a massive shout out to the subscriber who hit me up on Instagram to let me know about this deal. They really helped me out here. They got some absolutely amazing pickups. I got some absolutely amazing pickups, but you're going to have to stick around for the next few minutes to find out what absolutely amazing N64 game I have added to the collection for an absolute steal. And I hope this just goes to prove the deals are out there. You just have to find them. Here we are then, back in the games room from our live game hunt, and we have a lot of pickups to go through. That was an absolutely fantastic game hunt, and first and foremost, check out this Star Wars t-shirt I picked up from that charity shop in Wyndham. It is an absolute thing of beauty. I picked up this amazing X-Wing all over design, as well as this Rogue One t-shirt. Now, these were £3.50 each, but I really like these all over printed t-shirts. And I also managed to pick up this amazing Atari t-shirt. All of these t-shirts were for £3.50 each, and they are absolutely perfect for making videos for you folks. I absolutely love hitting up my local recycling centre to add cheap games to the collection. That's because on all DVDs and CDs it's just 10p or 10 for £1, obviously, or all video games are only £1 each. And this is an absolutely fantastic way to build a collection, whether it be DVDs, CDs or video games. So first off, I picked up all of these DVDs for just 10p each. Nothing that's really going to blow your mind, but they're just some good films to watch. And normally if these films are on a streaming site such as, I don't think Mortal Kombat's on anything at the moment, 10p to be able to watch a film is an absolute bargain. Music-based DVDs are always a really good pickup because these ones disappear very quickly off streaming, as well as some of the classics such as The Thing. But of course, the main thing I'm looking for when I go into the recycling centre is video games. I have an absolute stack here. So first off, we have Family Guy Into the Multiverse, which is actually a surprisingly expensive game. So really happy to pick this one up for £1. Next up, we have Ride for the Xbox 360. As it gets harder to find Xbox 360 games, I'm going to just pick them up as cheap as I can. So £1 for a game I've never seen before is a no-brainer. Same as the Wii, Call of Duty 3 on the Wii. A surprisingly decent kind of version of Call of Duty, and I don't know, maybe in the future the Wii versions of these games will be slightly more desirable, who knows, but for £1, add it to the collection. A random Pokemon DVD here I picked up. I really like the original Pokemon cartoons. If I could pick up a DVD with just, it's only got 3 episodes, but 3 episodes for 10p, not too bad. Back to the Wii, we have Rockstar Presents Table Tennis. Now, without a doubt, this is probably the best table tennis game I've ever played, and it's amazing that Rockstar took the risk and made this game, and I haven't played the Wii version, probably with the motion controls, this is the best version of this game. Next up, finally, catch my breath, from the recycling center we have Lego Batman for the PlayStation 2, just a classic Lego game, and then Super Monkey Ball Adventure. Remember, I picked up all of these games for just £1 each, and it's a great way to build a gaming collection. Finally, from the recycling centre, we have this PC game here, Dungeons & Dragons: The Temple of Elemental Evil, a classic Greyhawk adventure. I love anything kind of D&D based. I love my big box PC games. This may not be the biggest big box PC game, but again, for £1, I wanted to add this one to the collection. Finally, we have something from the recycling centre which I've never bought before to flip into CX for in-store credit. It is this Casio calculator for just 50p. Now, the best way to do this is kind of just to check the model when you're in store. This one trades in for £2. At the end of the day, I paid 50p for this, so 50p into £2 ain't too bad. It has been absolutely ages since I last went to those two charity shops in Longstrand. If you didn't know, I used to work in Longstrand. I used to go to those charity shops 2 to 3 times a week, so I was really happy to get just a couple of games from them this time. First off, we have Medal of Honor European Assault for the PlayStation 2. £2 for this one. It's not exactly the best deal of all time, but it's a game I was missing from the PS2 collection, so happy to pick it up, as well as this one, Medal of Honor Vanguard, which I've only ever played on the Wii, which is really good. If you haven't played on it, it kind of does, it's more like a kind of arcade on rail shooter than a first person shooter. It's a really solid game, so I'm really looking forward to checking this one out on the PS2. If you didn't know by now, I'm a massive wrestling fan and also a massive Steelbook fan. If you haven't seen my latest episode of Steelbook Hunting in CX, go and check that out. So when I saw this copy of SummerSlam on a Steelbook, I had to pick it up. It may not be the best pay-per-view of all time. I can't really think of any of the matches that are like exceedingly memorable, except for maybe Undertaker versus Edge, Hell in a Cell, but for this Steelbook, it's pretty cool. It's wrestling. It was just £1. I had to pick it up. Here's the other pickup I got from that charity shop, this Final Fantasy trading card game. Now, I'm a massive fan of trading cards and these kind of general games like this. I have no idea if this is a good price. I paid £5 for this, but it's something I've never seen before. You know what they say, if you haven't seen it before, pick it up. Here we have our final 2 pickups from the charity shops in Thetford, and 2 things I was really not expecting to find. Essentially, there is one Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game which I still needed for the Xbox 360, and I found it in a charity shop. It was £4. It would normally be £3 in CX, but I thought for the sake of £1, I'd rather pick it up from a charity shop. Now, these aren't really my favourite TMNT games, but I think with the new film out in the cinema, these are only to get more expensive. Secondly, we found quite possibly the last thing I expected to see randomly in a charity shop in the middle of Thetford, this AEW CM Punk figure. It's brand new. The box does have a little bit of damage on the back, but I'm a massive wrestling fan, as I've said multiple times in this video. I'm a massive fan of AEW. I collect the AEW figures, so to find this in a charity shop for just £5 was an awesome find. Let's get into our final finds this time, and they all come from cash converters. And let me just break this down for you. So essentially, my cash converters is changing how they charge for products in their store. Essentially, if a product is in store for longer than a month, they will start to reduce the price. And especially with some of the low-end games, such as this one, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, they just put it down to 50p, just to get it off the shelf. Because at the end of the day, if stuff sits on the shelves for too long, it's just taking up space, it's not making money, so they start to reduce this. And I managed to get some absolute steals because of this change. I couldn't believe they were reducing some of their games down to 50p. That's why I had to pick up this copy of Warzone 2100 for the PlayStation 1, complete in the box for just 50p, which is absolutely crazy. They were charging £4 for this one, which is not too bad to be honest, but for 50p, definitely had to grab that one. And next up we have the Simpsons game for the DS. Possibly the worst port of this game, but to get this for $4.99 when in CX they're charging £10 is definitely a win. One console that I love to collect for, but it's getting harder and harder to collect for, is the Wii U. There was only around 130 PAL games released for this console, and I have about 80, so if I see a game I need and it's a decent price, I pick it up. And this isn't the last Wii U game in this video, but this is The Hobbit, the Lego game. It's got some controversy. It was meant to have all 3 films. I think it only has the first 2. This was $7.99, but it was marked down to just $3.99, which for a Wii U game I don't have is an absolute bargain. This game wasn't exactly too much of a bargain, but it's a game I've been after for a while, and I thought I really want to play this one. It has a free PlayStation 5 upgrade available. It is House of Ashes. Now, if you haven't played any of these Dark Pictures games, they are absolutely fantastic. If you like your kind of horror survival games with choices, this one is absolutely fantastic, especially if you play in movie mode with a few friends. You all get to control 1 or 2 characters to decide their fates. It's an absolutely fantastic game, tons of replay value, and definitely worth 12 quid. Like I said though, they were reducing the games that had sat on the shelves for too long, and I managed to get this game, Pokemon Y, just the cartridge mind you, for $16.99. When you compare this to the CEX price, that is an absolute bargain. And in a weird turn of events, I actually have an empty box for Pokemon Y. I went on eBay and bought a job lot of empty Pokemon cases years ago for super cheap. I think this was about £1. So essentially then I can take this cartridge, pop it in here, and I have a complete copy of Pokemon Y for just $16.99. Next up, this might not be the biggest win price-wise, but this is a game which has eluded me for the Wii U for absolutely ages. This is a game for the Wii U which is getting fairly expensive. This is a £50 game in CEX, so I was more than happy to pay £45 for Game & Wario. This was one of the final WarioWare style games I needed for the collection. This is in absolutely fantastic condition. It is boxed and complete, and this is the kind of Wii U game which I think is going to get super expensive in years to come, and I'm really glad to have secured a copy now for less than a CX price for my collection. I have saved the heaviest hitter till last though. This is a loose N64 game which I needed for my collection, which sells today in CEX for £50. I picked this game up from Cash Converters for £25, half the price it would have been in CEX. It is Mario Party. I have been after this game for absolutely ages. It's one of the more expensive N64 games, even loose, for £50. And this is just a game I wanted to have in my collection because it is without a doubt one of the best couch co-op games you can play. It literally puts the party in party games, and it's a really big game to cross off my N64 want list. There we have it then, folks. It looks like the carboots may have been a washout so far this summer, but the charity shops are here to save us. And if I was you, I would check out your local Cash Converters. I always thought they were super overpriced, and I never really seemed to get a deal there, but I'm definitely be paying more attention now, especially if they have some of these higher priced games, because if my local store is reducing those prices after a month, it might be worth playing a waiting game. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, keep playing the game. See y'all soon.